So, leftover Diwali candles.
इसलिए मैं लेता हूँ बैटरी ऑपरेटेड, इसको मैं हर दिवाली पे यूज करता हूँ और अभी बैलेंस
कौतुक
कर
का
रहा हूँ
सिर्फ
इसको
दांत
हवे में।
चमक रहा है।
मैं इतना The thing is, ये इतने छोटे कैंडल है that I have to sit with extras.
ओके गाइस, सॉरी मेरा थोड़ा
देखो
गांड फट रहा है, मैं ऑन कर रहा है लाइट।
ए छी बाबा यार, ruining the whole vibe.
Fuck off guys, I'm in a hotel room alone and I have to do this by myself alone.
Thank
Why
you,
do you
Baba,
think
for
we
giving us
decided?
this ammunition. Thank you, Baba.
Why did you think we chose this specific date to do
Searching,
it?
I just think that
So
we
for
really
people who
should
are,
increase
hotel
this light
room
because
horror
बहुत
stories.
grainy होने वाला है footage.
हाँ ठीक है,
Wow,
तू
the
कौन सा
grainier the better.
चुती पिक्चर बना रहा है? फॉर एवरीबॉडी लिसनिंग टू अस ऑन ऑडियो प्लेटफॉर्म्स, हम लोग थोड़ा प्रोडक्शन वैल्यू लाए हैं, जैसे हम घोस्ट
बिल्कुल
स्टोरीज एपिसोड
प्रोडक्शन
में
वैल्यू
हमेशा लाते
घटाया
हैं।
है हम लोग, ग्रेन है फुटेज में।
फ्लोटिंग फ्लोटिंग कैंडल और
फ्लोटिंग कैंडल
बाबा अलोन
बेस
इन
दिख रहा है
होटल।
ठाकुर।
अब फक दिख रहा है क्या? इसने खींचा नहीं। Shit.
अरे बट
मेरे को क्यों नहीं
पेनम्ब्रा
दिख रहा?
होगा
अच्छा
ना
अभी
लाइट
दिख
का,
रहा है।
अम्ब्रा और पेनम्ब्रा।
उम्रा अमरान पेनम्रा, क्या बात है। आज का टॉपिक है लॉन्जरे फैक्ट्स।
Obviously. We deceived you by the title, but it's all about lingerie today. Edible lingerie, edamame lingerie. This is a thing in Japan.
So, yeah, on that note, let's begin this episode. Yuck. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Internet Sexo, a show where we take random interesting weird abstract facts.
You know, that is a
Yeah.
candle, not a mic.
And the personal stories, and we talk about them. And today's episode is Ghost Stories Part 3.
ठाकुर, can you get some
By
light on your
popular
face?
Bro, this is a podcast. People are listening to my amazing voice.
Yeah.
अभी
Thank
इतना
you
ही
for
लाइट है
giving-
मेरे पास.
You
Acha,
mean
by
the
the way,
voice that I
everybody
have to
sharing-
double track? I have to DT and then explode.
Yeah, you DT.
Yeah, Baba, I
and
don't
then
understand, yaar. If this light is good enough for Vikram Bhatt, why is it not good enough for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, it is Vikram Bhatt. Also,
Hey,
Thakur,
don't insult
this-
Vikram Bhatt.
also Thakur, you move back, otherwise again your frame will get cut and you only Varun Thakur will be there on your frame.
अभी ये वाले एपिसोड में मत डाल, चलेगा, क्योंकि वैसे भी इतना अंधेरा, आधे लोग दिखेंगे नहीं। अच्छा, मैं अपने ये वाले आवाज में अब बात करना बंद करता हूँ। बट एनीवे, मैं अभी मैं डिनर पे अपने पेरेंट्स के घर पे था, ठीक है। तो मेरे पेरेंट्स, मेरे कजिन, मैं, निकिता, हम लोग सब बैठ के खा रहे। तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि चल मेरे को जल्दी निकलना है, जाके शूट करना है एपिसोड। तो मेरी मॉम डैड तो फुल घुसे हुए ना टेस्ट में, सब एपिसोड देखते सब कुछ। तो मुझे पूछ रहे टॉपिक क्या है, तो मैं बोला घोस्ट स्टोरीज। तो चालू हो गया, अरे तुमको मालूम है जब हम लोग देवलाली गए थे, जो मैंने ऑलरेडी बोल दिया, वो टेबल टेनिस वाला मेरी नानी के बाजू वाले रूम में, वो चुड़ैल जो फॉरेस्ट में चल रही थी, एक वीकेंड हाउस पे जहां हमारी फैमिली जाती थी, वहां वाला। तो दे आर रिपीटिंग, ऐसे नहीं नया बताओ। सो they told me a whole bunch of, this were not like stories that like they saw a ghost or something, but it was certain things. Like for example, my nani now, who is 96, sometimes if you ask her, she's 106. Many a times you ask her, she's 126. It changes, right? So she's
it
living
should.
with my parents.
As it
changes.
should.
No, but it doesn't change in intervals of 10 years. It changes in intervals of days. One day she's 126, one day she's 96. Anyway, point is that she's old. Okay, so she's living with my parents. Now, many a times at night, she talks. So somehow my parents in the other room, my dad especially, always ends up hearing it. He'll wake my mom up. Mom will go and go check on her. So what happened last night is that, and for somebody who's that old, even when she's talking, you can hear it in the other room. जब जो जिसका दरवाजा बंद है, एसी चालू है, फिर भी आ रहा है आवाज। तो नानी बहुत जोर जोर से चिल्ला रही है, कुछ बोल रही है, एंड सडनली डैड को सुनाई दिया, डैड उठे, मॉम को उठा, एंड मॉम वेंट देयर एंड शी इज लिटरली टॉकिंग टू समबडी, से हाँ इधर बैठो, हाँ हाँ खा के जाओ, नहीं नहीं इनको बोलो ना, हाँ आके देंगे, तो बिल्कुल देना, ऐसे छोड़ना मत, स्टफ लाइक दैट. Okay, and then the next morning she remembers, but she's like, they left. Now when my mom heard this, yeah. So when my mom heard this, she was talking about it very nonchalantly. I'm like, how are you not more freaked out? She's like, this is something that happens to a lot of older people who are, on the last leg. Um, a lot of them apparently keep getting visions of people who बोलते हैं ना कि यमदूत आ रहे हैं and they send somebody to take you, stuff like that. So even my mom's best friend, her mother, was on her like last leg, and when she would see something like that, she would have nightmares where she's just yelling, saying, "इसको लेके जाओ, मेरे को नहीं आना है, मेरे को नहीं आना है, इसको बोलो जाना है यहाँ से, इसको बोलो जाना है यहाँ से." So when they're towards the end of their life, they tend to see and experience a lot of these things. So she told me about that. Then my mom's older sister, Rita Masi, and my dad's younger brother, Vilu Kaka, okay, they both passed away at a very young age. They were both in their mid 40s. Okay, so my mom told me the story today where my chacha, he had a liver problem and he was in the hospital for very long and he suffered quite a bit. And then, you've tried everything possible to make sure that, that you do the best you can, even if there's whatever chance to get the person out. So one day he was in the hospital and my mama was visiting because periodically different members of the family would go and sit, right? Look, दूसरों का काम है तो कोई और जाके बैठ रहा है. तो मेरे मामा गए थे to go sit with him. As soon as he entered the room, suddenly my chacha said, "Hey, कौन है कौन है कौन?" He started doing like that, which was a little odd. So he just wondered, why is he suddenly, like, he can see that somebody's entered, but why is he making such movements? So turns out that again, when he was on his last leg, you start losing your senses sometimes from top down or bottom up. So he had, I think by that point, he couldn't see. And when his nurse, who he used to communicate with many times, he's literally acted out when he was not able to speak. He has acted out things like almost like charades. So he told the nurse that I heard that sound and I saw a person with a lantern asking me to come.
Oh no. Huh. Yes,
So at some point, I'm going to put you guys on mute. You all continue. I will pretend like I'm listening to the podcast and I will just be here. Don't worry about it.
Hey, but this is not, I'm not saying a
Real
ghost
life.
story. This is real life. It happens. I don't know what the scientific explanation is, or is this all shrouded in no, people believe this happens, but these are things that you've heard. Like, I literally heard this right now, bro. What started off as a joke, kya re, tum log meko
And
kuch
that's
story
the
do.
problem. I'm not denying it.
And
And that's what makes it freaky, right?
Dude, I'll tell you this other one. Now with my Masi, right? My Masi had a pom, okay, Pomeranian. Her name was Lucy. Now she was like this with my Masi. They were inseparable. Literally everywhere my Masi went, Lucy would be there. Now, when my Masi was on her last leg, she had cancer. So on her towards the end, dogs always sense everything. Have you noticed that? They say that dogs can almost sense spirits. They can, because they can hear, smell, feel, whatever, 1,000 times more than what humans can do, and all of that.
Extra sensory perception.
Yeah, everything, right? So my Masi, she had passed away, and they had gone to the crematorium. Lucy was in my cousin's lap. She has struggled like that, jumped out, gone, kissed my Masi, and the pandit, the bharji who's there, who's trying to do the thing, he, like, somebody went to pick the dog up and he said, "No, rehne do, let it be." She has kissed my Masi, done a full round around, a parikrama bolte na, pura aise round karke aaya, around my Masi's body, gone back, kissed her, gone to my cousin, asked to be put in the lap again. And the pandit was also a dog lover, so he's like, "No, I didn't want to interrupt because there is a certain thing about dogs when it comes to their relationship with their owner, their master, whoever they live with." So after all of that has happened, वो पहले 3 दिन में बोलते हैं ना that the spirit is still around, ऐसे मानते हैं. So for 3 days, Lucy would just hover around the picture of my Masi, and on the third day, she just sat down, looked at the picture, and gave out a "Ooh," like that, like almost as a send off, where you feel that okay, now she is Now the spirit has gone. Now I don't know how much of this is what, but you start like it automatically feels believable because I know how much they both loved each other. And then when you see this happen, and my mom, when she was telling me today, I was getting like goosebumps. And all of us were sitting there and talking, and suddenly all of these things come to your mind where it's crazy the relationship dogs have and how
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even when I was because I wasn't here when all of this was happening. मैं तभी UK में था मेरा like university पे था. I didn't get to see her towards the end. That's when I heard this. I said, "Wow, bro! Like insane. Like it's not ghost, but it's weirdly eerie and amazing at the same time."
I like that the dogs don't differentiate between that and that. It's just like if it is true, like it's just the dog pretty much just like, oh, this is next step. Like it's not as they understand it better than we do. I don't know. It's like a chance to do final goodbye. Maybe the dog has more understanding of this.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Like I think the other thing is that like all ghost stories, like the crucible of all ghost stories tends to be 2-3 things, right? Like one of them is grief, overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
And
Dude, and
the second is
grief
obviously
grief after somebody has passed will always, like my mom used to still tell me stories where she could almost see and hear my Masi much after she had passed.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Where when you're trying to grapple with the passing of your mind, your subconscious will play those, you call it tricks, but in
Memories.
that stage, it feels believable that no, I actually saw her. I actually heard her, I actually felt her.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of families go through this thing. Like I'll tell you my own thing, and most of it is a little bit of habit, a little bit of just like it takes time to readjust to life after someone's passing. Like I recently lost my grandmother, and when I went back to the house where she used to stay, so here's what used to happen. When my grandmother was alive, she would always be in her room, and when you entered the house, if I looked to the right in down one corridor, I could always see her room, and her bed would always be in the view. And towards the end, like my grandmother was very old, so she would always be laying in bed. So I remember, like for years, I would enter the house, look to the right, see the bed, and see her 2 feet sticking out, and I would know that, oh, she's in the room. So then I would go and meet her. So after she passed, I remember the first time I entered the house, I stepped in, looked to the right, I saw her bed, and for just like one split second, it felt like I could see her feet.
See her, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, she's not there. Right?
This is like that thing that I'd mentioned earlier, no, Kautuk, remember when mom passed and I used to have this habit of like I used to start screaming, "Mummy, mummy, mummy" from the 4th floor. We lived on the 5th, and I would start screaming like just the assumption that I don't want to wait a second. मैं 5th floor पे गेट लिफ्ट का गेट खोलेगा और मैं सीधा अंदर आने का मेरे को दरवाजे के अंदर, so it better be open. तो मैं चिल्ला रहा था ऐसा मम्मी मम्मी मम्मी, just fucking like a dick kid. I remember even at what mom passed when I was 35. So at 35 also, I remember I went up to the 4th floor, and I think it was the first time I went to the house after mom had passed, and I just did the first mummy, just out of habit for us, and then it hit me like, shit, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that there's a
because I had this thing, right, and I was like, it is so unsettling. So I was sharing this with my cousin sister. My cousin sister used to stay with my grandmother in the house. So she says, I can't tell you how many times I have seen, like, I felt like I've seen her in the room. And we both know that it's habit. We both know that it's, like it's going to take time to adjust. But that thing it's that little, just half a second of unknown. Like yeah. Like, and I think that's the other part, right? Like one part is fear and the other part is the unknown. Like anytime something out of reality happens, like you suddenly start wondering, is there more? So,
yeah.
Like, but talking about grief, here's a story that I found on the internet. Um, this is called the Ghost of La Parva Ski Resort. Right,
Are you
and
telling me this is a
this
ghost
is
story
again
based in a hotel room?
Oh, if you're
no, it's
already,
not.
I've
It's
got,
not.
I've
It's
got
not.
like 4 more for hotel rooms, Baba.
No, it's ski resort.
Yeah, it's a ski
Yeah,
resort. It's not the hotel
it's a
you're
ski
staying
resort,
in.
and but it's not set in any hotel room or anything. What it is about is that it's about grief, and it's about like a very visceral grief. So here's what happens. Now the story begins like this. It's a fairly recent story, and the people who are in and around this ski resort is in Chile, and it's on this mountain top, and it's snowed in during the season, and the people around this area, they swear that this really happened, and some of them swear that they even knew the person who's at the heart of this ghost story. And the person who's at the heart of this ghost story is a woman called Lola. Now what happened was that Lola had come to the ski resort with her son, and they were at this resort, and they were having a great time, and they were going out for a day of skiing. Now, as it sometimes happens on this mountain in Chile, the weather suddenly turned.
Hmm.
Suddenly a fog rushes in. It's thick, it's dense, you can't see almost like meters in front of your face, right? And they're on this ski slope, and as they're walking down, suddenly they get separated. The fog is so thick that Lola can't see her son, so she starts screaming for him frantically, right? But she can't even hear back from him, or she doesn't know if he can hear her. Now, as the seconds start ticking by, she's getting more and more anxious. She's getting more and more, just she wants to find her son, right? So she starts running. Right now, it's a ski slope. You can't see anything because of the fog, and she starts running, and suddenly she loses her footing, tumbles down the ski slope. Now, as she tumbles down, her body gets cut and ravaged by the rocks, and she ends up at she stops at one point and is half buried in the snow. Now, she was lucky because it just so happened that a ski lift operator, he happens to see her. He happens to see this body that's half buried in the snow. Now he rushes to the body, and he was expecting this person to be dead, clearly, because at the point where he's found her, the tumble would have killed her.
Hmm.
But as he approaches the body, he sees that she's not dead. She's barely alive. She's breathing, but just about. So he digs her out and manages to take her, like literally drag her body back up to his ski operator's hut. Okay, it's this small place that he lives in. Now, what he does is he lays her on the bed, bandages her bruises and cuts as best as he can. She's bleeding profusely. She's in a very bad state. Now, he bandages it up and he tells her that I'm going to get a doctor. Now, he leaves the hut. He trudges up to the doctor, and in the time that it takes him to get to the doctor and get the doctor back, as they enter the hut again, they see that Lola is gone. There's nothing on the bed except blood soaked bed sheets. Now, Lola, nor Lola, neither her son were ever found again. No one knows what happened to her, where she went, what she did, whether her son is alive. But sometimes on this ski resort, on this mountain top, sometimes the weather changes rapidly. The fog rushes in, it begins raining. And it's during these times that people in this whirl of wind and rain, they can hear Lola shouting for her son.
Yeah.
So that's the ghost of La Parva ski resort. Oh, one other small addition to this story, in case it wasn't creepy enough. From this ski resort, and this is a little bit of history, from this ski resort, you can spot an ancient Incan site. And this site was a site where child sacrifices took place. So, yeah.
Wow.
You think some cultish people took her child?
No.
No, because if there's some old site, there are bound to be people who still follow, some practice. If you go to remote areas, they probably kidnapped the child, but the mother screaming might just be like, kuch aur hi chakkar mein.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. But like, I mean, for me, it was just like one additional historical synchronicity that just adds to this whole like.
No, and given the nature of it, you are bound to put two and two together. No, nobody's going to be like, oh, of course, this has no connection with this story.
That is.
What do you mean? Missing child, temple of child sacrifice, no connection at all. What's the common factor? Sir, the child. Yes, I didn't think about that. But talking about history, I came across a story of a Maratha warrior, Peshwa Bajirao the First, who was minister to Chhatrapati Shahu, was the king of the Maratha Empire at its peak, 1770 ke time pe. Now, this story came out of this book that was written, and it's about Peshwa Bajirao the First, who has gone on a hunting expedition. And while he was there, he has seen something very unique. He has seen a rabbit chase after a hound, which is odd. And he's like, wait, there is something special about this land. There's something special about this area, and I would want to live here. So now this place that
hound उसको चिढ़ा रहा था कि तू रेस हार गया.
हाँ तो उसके सन्ना की rabbit की. Anyway, so this guy wanted to start living there. Now this piece of land was in Kasba, which is Pune basically, which at that point was a city covered by full mud wall, right? It only contained few huts of fishermen and weavers and all of that. So now what Bajirao did is that he acquired about 6 acres of that, and in exchanging them with suitable sites from Mangalwar Pit. And ki we'll give you some land there and I want this land, and then they started building this palace, which was jiska foundation was laid on Saturday, like Jan sometime 1730. Now it was named Shaniwar Wada. Shaniwar basically means Saturday and Wada is residence. So within a few years, they have made this massive 2-storied palace, like properly done, which shows you like what Maratha power at that time was. Now this Shaniwar Wada was built at a heavy cost. The teak has been bought from one place, the limestone has been gotten from one place, the stones have come from another place. Now eventually it has become like this massive 7-story high thing. It had this one gate called the Delhi Gate, which basically opened up towards the direction of Delhi. So Marathas living in Maharashtra would control whatever is happening in Delhi. This is post Mughals. Now, ये सब हुआ है. Peshwa Bajirao then basically moved there with his 2 sons, with his first wife Kashi Bai. Now he has 2 sons, Nana Sahib and Raghoba. Raghunath Rao hai, but usko pet name mein Raghoba bolte hain. Now Peshwa Bajirao the First had 2 sons, Nana Sahib and Raghoba. Now Peshwa Bajirao dies. Then his son Nana Sahib takes over, right? Not the brother Raghoba, right? It becomes the king's firstborn will take over. Now the first kid who takes over, which is Nana Sahib, he also dies. So post his death, his 16-year-old son, Nana Sahib's 16-year-old son now is the king. But because he is young, he is not come of age, Raghoba is named regent. So he will take care of the affairs of the empire and all till the young king comes of age. Now, both of them sort of started having a lot of mistrust. Now, he always felt that there were some differences that arose suddenly between him and his uncle, because he would feel like Narayan Rao, this is the young king, 16-year-old, he would feel that his uncle Raghoba is going to attempt a coup and take over. So before anything happens, he is put under house arrest. Raghoba has been put under house arrest by Narayan Rao, who was the young king at that point. Now, Raghoba's wife, Anandi Bai, decides to seek help from this Gardi tribe. Okay, they are a hunting tribe. and she tries to take their help to get Raghoba out of house arrest. So the way she plans to doing it is getting a signed letter from Raghoba delivered to the Gardi tribe to join forces together. Now, when Raghoba writes the letter, he writes in Marathi that Narayan Lal, for example, Narayan Lal, Raula Dhara. Dhara means hold him.
Get him, yeah.
And he has signed this letter and he is sending it to the Gardi tribe. But before that happens, his wife Anandebai intercepts the letter and she changes Tyala Dhara to Tyala Mara. With she has
Okay, she
changed
changes
the
the matra,
spelling.
the spelling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah. Sorry,
spelling
sorry.
only. Spelling
word,
Spelling,
to
spelling. Yeah.
तो धरा को मारा करके दे दिया है. This makes it to Sumer Singh Gardi, who is the leader of the Gardi tribe. Now he has gotten a signed letter from Raghava saying, go and kill. Raghava didn't say kill, he said Dhara. But they have gotten permission to go and kill this young king. Now, during Ganpati festival in August 73, last day of Ganpati festival, it's Anand Chaturdashi, it's called. Some of the Gardi guards, led by their captain, stormed the palace. They killed a few aides. And then Sumer Singh Gardi, who's the main guy, has gone and he has run after Narayan Rao, who was so scared because he's so young. Narayan Rao has run towards his uncle's quarters, yelling "Kaka Mala Vatswa," which basically means "Uncle,
Save
please
me.
help me."
Save me. Yeah, help
Yeah,
me.
yeah, "Uncle, please help me. Uncle, please save me." So he's running. "Kaka Mala, please, Mala, please," but "Kaka Mala Vatswa, Kaka Mala Vatswa." Like you can hear, like it's in pain, it's in agony. He's scared, and he is hacked, cut into pieces. His body has been cremated off secretly, and he has been killed by just one stroke of a pen. Now, this happened in 1780 or 1773. 1773. Some people to this date say that on Amavasya Rat, which is the night of the new moon, you can hear screams of Narayan Rao running down the hallway screaming Kaka Mala Vatswa, Kaka Mala Vatswa, Kaka Mala Vatswa. And in the voice, in the screams, you can almost, they've said that they can almost hear the agony, the pain. Imagine as a 16-year-old, you see this happening to you. What are you going to do? And you would, no matter how much you disagree with him, but the first person you would think of to come save him would have been his uncle, even though he's put him under house arrest and all that. So yeah. और ये मैं अभी से जब भी पढ़ा था, जब हम नीचे डिनर कर रहे थे, I was saying my dad remembers I said Peshwa Bajirao first. He's like, hey, Kaka Mala Vatswa, because he remembers.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So I had done this story in the second season of Second Hand Stories. It was like a thing that I'd done for members, this same story. And I had found this story because there's a phrase in Marathi which is called Dhacha ma nako karu.
Dhacha ma nako karu. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
that comes from this.
That's what that
story.
Yeah. But that's crazy, na, to think that उसने सिर्फ ध का म कर दिया, bro, और पूरा it just changed. And eventually, after all of this happened, the Maratha power started winning out. You had the Anglo-Maratha war. Then इधर इन लोग जीत गए, ब्रिटिश का फ्लैग लग गया. फिर थोड़े टाइम के बाद इधर जब आग लग रही थी, they let the fire rage. Eventually, it was later used as a mental asylum, then as a prison. अभी हेरिटेज साइट बनाया उसको. And now, like when you see it, I think दिवाली के टाइम पे उन लोग कुछ करते, दिवाली या गणपति दोनों के टाइम पे कुछ तो करते. They light up the whole Shaniwar Wada.
Okay, I'm just starting off with this one chota story that happened to me because we're comics, we travel a lot, we're shooting in different hotels in different parts of the world. I was stuck with this really cheap production once.
Oh, I thought you were stuck with a really cheap comic.
No. I was stuck with a cheap production, and kya ho raha tha? They were putting us up in horrible places. And after the third location, I put my foot down कि मैं ऐसे नहीं रहूंगा. Because after a while, I was getting scared कि bed में bed bugs होएगा और मेरे थोपड़े पे काटेगा, and then the next day I have to sit in front of the camera. So I said, मेरे को एक decent hotel room में डालो, and I thought I was fighting for the crew. And then I find out that only I got moved and now the crew is somewhere else. So now अलग से मैं एक होटल में रह रहा हूँ and I seem like the asshole. But regardless, I was like, Meko, I want a good night's sleep. So we are in Bangalore. Okay. And now they found, and now they're still cheap. So they found a brand new hotel. It's just been constructed, sab kuch. And brand new hotels usually have these new rates going on. So saste mein in logo mila hoega. And the hotel is still kind of like getting started. And it's like a soft opening. So they put me up in this suite. They're like, "Ha, sir, you can, because we're still new, we still have people coming in. You can stay in this suite." So I'm very happy. ठीक है, मैं सुबह जाता हूँ, शूटिंग वूटिंग करके वापस आया. एंड मैं रात को आता हूँ, रिसेप्शन पे कोई है नहीं, कोई बंदा बैठा ही नहीं है. आई वाज लाइक ग्रेट, ग्रेट सिक्योरिटी. मैं गया लिफ्ट में. आई गो टू माय रूम ऑन द 7th फ्लोर. ओके, बाबा तू गए?
No comments.
So I go to my room on the 7th floor. Okay, and
How
बाजू
do you know
वाले
my
रूम में ना,
fucking Bangalore hotel room is on the 7th floor?
Wow.
तो आई गो देयर एंड मेरे बाजू वाला रूम, वहां पे लाइट ऑन है और थोड़ा म्यूजिक व्यूजिक चल रहा है. एंड आई एम लाइक शिट, ये लोग पार्टी करने आए हैं कोई बंदे लोग, एंड ये पूरी रात इरिटेट होएगा मेरे को. आई कैन हियर द म्यूजिक एंड आई स्टिल लाइक, मैं अपने कान में कुछ रुई हुई डाला एंड आई पुट अ पिलो ऑन माई हेड एंड आई वेंट टू स्लीप. ओके, एंड नेक्स्ट मॉर्निंग गेट अप, वे सपोज टू गो टू चेन्नई नेक्स्ट डे. सो मैं उठा, नहा धो के नीचे निकला मैं, एंड I come back down, I meet the manager and I say कि तुम थे नहीं रात को. I started teasing him. And I told him कि and he asked me, did you have a good night's sleep? I said, yeah, I thought I wouldn't. क्योंकि बाजू वाले रूम में ये लोग थोड़ा ऐसे नॉइज या कुछ पार्टी हो रही थी. He goes, sir, you're the only person on your floor.
Whoa.
So
Oh my God.
काफी गांड footage. Like then if we had to stay in Bangalore one more day, I would have gone and lived wherever the hell the crew was being made to sleep.
Aadar, what sort of music was it? Like, I'm genuinely asking.
It seemed like party music. It's like people were getting drunk.
You know, the dull
You know,
thump that comes through the wall.
हाँ,
That.
dum dum dum, and you could see like movement under the door, and lights were clearly on. You know,
Whoa.
वो जो
Bro, I'm
दरवाजा
telling you, it was the receptionist only. वो और पूरा होटल का पब्लिक पार्टी कर रहा था.
हाँ, और मेरे को झूठ बोल रहे वो लोग कि हम लोग
और देखो चूतिया बना रहे. अरे नहीं सर, आप अकेले थे तो तेरी फट जाएगी, तू कंप्लेन भी नहीं करेगा बिकॉज भूत था पे रिफंड नहीं दे रहा है कोई तेरे को, तो ऐसे चूतिया बना है.
But taking off from what Aadar said, and specifically to freak Baba out, and also to
Putting on mute.
entertain Thakur, this is a story. Okay, so Thakur, you'll realize why I said that. So this story takes place in a hotel in London called the Langham. Okay, and there's this one particular guest who's staying overnight at the Langham. And what happens to this guest is this: he's asleep, and suddenly he wakes up in the middle of the night because he can hear water that's running, it's flowing. So he sits up in bed and he sees that the taps have suddenly switched on. Okay, and the water is flowing from the taps in the hotel room. So he gets up. He is extremely freaked out because when he had gone to sleep, everything was still and silent. He gets out of bed and goes to the light switch and switches on the lights. Now, as he switches on the light and the room is lit up, suddenly the taps stop and the water stops running. Now, he waits for a little while and then he switches off the lights again. And when he does, the taps start again. Okay. Now, he's extremely weirded out. Okay. Now, the reason why this story is meaningful in more ways than just a ghost story is because the guest who this happened to at the Langham happened to be a cricketer called Stuart Broad.
Oh.
Okay. And he's not alone amongst cricketers who've had strange experiences. Okay, so there was any cricketer, I mean, I don't know if he was or is, but do you remember Haris Sohail?
अभी 2 साल पहले तक तो खेल रहा था.
So this happened to Haris Sohail early on in his career. Okay, this was when he had just played about 9 ODIs. So they've gone to New Zealand to play New Zealand, and they're staying in a hotel called the Ridges Latimer Hotel in New Zealand in Christchurch. Now he's in his hotel room, and suddenly he wakes up in the middle of the night because his entire bed is shaking. Okay, the bed is shaking. It's woken him up. He's seen the bed shaking. He's so freaked out. He calls the team manager. He tells him that this has happened. Okay, now soon after he reports this, he gets a fever. Okay, he's looked at by the doctor. The doctor says, well, it seems like it's a regular fever. He's concentrating on his cricket, but we don't know what this is. Now, he was so traumatized that he missed the next day's warm-up, and he also missed one entire warm-up game that they were supposed to play because of a haunting at the Ridges Latimer Hotel.
My God.
Okay.
So Bawa,
एक्चुअली उसकी फट रही थी कि उसको सीमिंग विकेट पे ट्रेंट बोल्ट को फेस करना पड़ेगा, तो उसने एक स्टोरी बनाया. ये चल रहा है कि नहीं भाई, कल बॉल बहुत स्विंग होने वाली, मैं नहीं खेल पाऊंगा, तो चल बोल देता भूत है.
Okay. So there's this is a story that came in from research. So it's a short story, right? There's 2 of these
Shocking.
that intrigued me, and I still had the guts to read it. So this one's a story about Lizzie Borden, right? And here's the story. There's a poem that has been written about Lizzie Borden, right? And the poem is 4 lines long. The poem reads, Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41.
41.
Right? Now, this poem is about Lizzie Borden, who was a spinster, who was acquitted. He was acquitted of the murder in 1892 of her father and her stepmother. Right? There was some circumstantial evidence that pointed obviously towards her being the killer. And of course, once this happened and she was acquitted, the community obviously shunned her and all of that. Today, that same house is obviously a bed and breakfast for people to enjoy, right? And I'm assuming Kautuk, you and Varun would love to stay at this morbidly distraught hotel. But in this hotel, people stay. It's a bed and breakfast, and there apparently does take a lot. Does happen a lot of strange paranormal phenomena. Right. For example, obviously because this bed and breakfast is known for this incident of Lizzie Borden, they obviously have all these memorabilia I'm sorry to use that word, but memorabilia of the incident around the hotel, right? Like merch. Yeah. So there is photographs of the crime scene and newspaper articles and stuff like that. Some of the paranormal
why
activity.
Photograph of the crime scene?
I'm assuming
horrible photographs.
It seems a little iffy because it's 1892, so that photo will be really grainy, but sure.
And for every time the photo is taken, that flash would blow up the candle, the bulb. वो वाला होगा.
So तीसरे वाले photo में अभी bulb भी है crime scene में. So the thing is that the paranormal phenomena that seems to take place is that these crime scene photographs seem to tip over, just randomly tip over. Like you're sitting and it just falls, or things slide across the floor for no apparent reason. Voices can be heard through the walls during the night. And once a visitor taking the tour had her phone ring after she had turned it off. So she told the group, and here comes the kicker. She told the group that it was her mother who was calling. And the guide said, would you like to step out and take the call? And the woman shook her head and said, no, she died 2 years ago.
Oh, great.
So that is one story. And then there is a second story that I want to talk about. If you can give me 1 second, I have to
No,
forget.
I want to actually talk about those people because there is an actual tourist
Sure.
industry of people who
Yeah.
love
I have one. Yeah,
visiting
I have one from Edinburgh.
love
Yeah.
visiting like haunted hotels, staying there. वो जाते हैं वॉलंटरी, नहीं मेरे को डरना है, मैं जाता हूँ, और ऑलरेडी तू प्री कंसीव नोशन के साथ गया है. लेकिन ये जो मस्ट हैव सेड दिस स्टोरी, बट सैवॉय मालूम है, मसूरी में एक होटल है, ठीक है. आई हैव सेड दिस ना, ओके देन आई वोंट रिपीट इट.
But
Go
this is
watch
true. Like,
Ghost
I'm
Stories
a-
1 and 2.
I've
I'm a
got
bit-
a couple from Edinburgh, and then like I've got Edinburgh का मेरा story and then my main story. So
Yeah,
बाबा
no,
तू
bro.
खत्म कर पहले.
I was just gonna, like, while Baba finds this thing,
No, I
like,
found
I'm a
it.
huge
I
sucker.
can go.
I'm a huge sucker for these ghost walk thingies that
Yes.
happen in cities.
That
Love
is what I
those.
want to talk about. Yes.
Because you get to see the city and you also get to hear amazing creepy stories.
And that's what
I mean,
I'm
like-
doing when I'm going to London end of the year. Nikita's found
there you
one.
go.
It's a haunted walking tour or something. So they take you
Bro,
through.
we should do one. We should do one in
some-
Bombay. This ghost walks.
We should just go Insta live or YouTube live and just have 4
This-
cameras
this-
on us.
This ghost walks. और किधर?
Yeah.
Western Express Highway.
West,
कोई भी डर जाएगा उधर जाके.
I am sure Western Express की चुड़ैल है एक. If you ask enough
हाँ.
people निकलेगी.
Yeah.
Now,
हाँ.
there's a
चुड़ैल is by default explanation of anything unexplained. जैसे हम लोग बचपन में लोखंडवाला बैक रोड है ना, before it got developed properly, उधर ऐसे ओपनिंग एक होते थे, एक रास्ता जा रहा है, सिर्फ कच्चा रास्ता
पूरा हाँ
तो सब एक तो राइट लेगा, हाँ अभी भी है, बट नाउ यू नो ना, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट 20 years ago ब्रो. 20-22 साल पहले हम लोग उधर ऐसे साइकिल पे आते थे. देन वी आर लाइक चल फक इट, इधर जाते हैं अंदर. एंड फर्स्ट थिंग तेरे को क्या लगता है अंदर का, वो चुड़ैल. लेकिन हम लोग गए उधर, देयर वाज अ ओल्ड रिलायंस पंपिंग स्टेशन और समथिंग इट वाज, but it was freaky because it just it's one long road and like सब कच्चा रास्ता है, कुछ नहीं है कि अगर तेरा कुछ टायर गया कुछ गया तो इधर अटकेश है. अभी कुछ नहीं है, अभी उधर डेवलप हो गया सर, अभी उधर सिलपुरी वाला भी है.
So my friend bought his first motorcycle, okay, और जा रहे कहाँ है सीखने के लिए, लर्निंग लाइसेंस नहीं है, कोई खरीद लिया मोटरसाइकिल. कहाँ खरीद,
लोखंड वाला बैक रोड
करेंगे, लोखंड वाला बैक रोड पे प्रैक्टिस करेंगे. तो ये ऐसा चालू करता है बाइक, फर्स्ट गियर में डाल के पूरा घुमाया एंड क्लच छोड़ दिया इसने. ओके नाउ तो मैं उसका वीडियो निकाल रहा हूँ ऑन दिस ओल्ड फोन, नोकिया फोन, तो वीडियो निकाल रहा हूँ, क्लच छोड़ा, द बाइक गोज इन द एयर and he leaves it and it goes into that khai which is road, back road के side में. He leaves the bike and the bike goes on for a good, and हम लोग रात को कर रहे हैं. Both of us are scared to go and retrieve the bike at night.
क्योंकि वो बाइक छोड़ रहा है, बाइक उसमें गई है और उधर से एक आवाज आया, अरे कौन बाइक फेंका है, मैं चुड़ैल.
अभी भी मिलेगी तेरी बाइक उधर नाले में पड़ी हुई, और उसके ऊपर ऑलरेडी किसी ने घोस्ट स्टोरीज बना ले. पता है ये बाइक क्या था, एक था राइडर, वो यहाँ पर रात को आता था, एक दिन अकेले
बिना हेलमेट
और बिना हेलमेट वो गिर गया, और उसने फोन करने की कोशिश की, कोई नहीं आ पाया, और उसका भूत इधर मंडरा था, ये देख उसकी बाइक. लेकिन असली बाइक थी वो आदर की दोस्त की.
हीरो होंडा.
हाँ बाबा कर दे, बता. एक तो फर्स्टली गाइस गिव इट अप फॉर बाबा, प्लीज राइट वेल डन बाबा इन द कमेंट्स, बिकॉज घोस्ट स्टोरीज एपिसोड में बिना म्यूट किए अकेले होटल रूम में जो 7 माले पे है, जो यूजुअली हॉन्टेड होता है, उधर बैठ के घोस्ट स्टोरीज एपिसोड कर रहा है, और इसके बाद सोने नहीं वाला है. तो द माइंड विल प्ले ट्रिक्स विद हिम, बट ही स्टिल हियर, स्टिल डूइंग इट.
If you watch all the ghost story episodes in order, you will see character development from Baba.
Yes.
Or like you can see one full arc of अरे मैं कुछ बोल नहीं सकता, तू ठीक है मैं सुनूंगा, to now this is crazy.
तो नाउ मतलब अभी बाबा ने प्रॉपर स्टोरी बताया और फटी नहीं उसकी.
चल एक और स्टोरी बाबा, once more. Small step, baby step.
This is a story called Pa Hank. Okay, it's again from the research. I'm sorry, I don't have too many original ghost stories क्योंकि मैं सुनता नहीं है. तो मैं जितना भी है वो second hand, third hand, fourth hand, compiled from internet
Hey,
है.
don't disrespect
So
second-hand stories, okay?
that's not what I meant. But in this case, also his second-hand stories are genuinely curated with lots of research. I am literally article है. मैं दूसरा article ये story के बारे में नहीं पढ़ रहा है. मैं यही पढ़ के सुना रहा है. So I apologize. So this is a story called Pa Hank, and so there's a podcast called Monsters Among Us. If you guys are horror fans, I'm assuming this is a podcast you might enjoy. Um, there's a podcast called Monsters Among Us, and in that, a woman named Jacqueline, or Jacqueline, I'm assuming, or however it would be pronounced, a woman named Jacqueline
Fernandez.
told told of her childhood when she would visit her parents in Oklahoma. She reminisced about sitting in the backyard with her grandfather. He would tell her stories about his life. And the one thing he told her was that he had been a bootlegger during the Prohibition. Okay. And she sort of said like he was quite something. And she said that most of it, that this was this thing, this going to Oklahoma to her grandparents was one of the most cherished memories where she would sit with him while they talked and played together under this big tree in the backyard. And the bond sort of they had made her family happy as well. And they always hoped that Jacqueline and Pa Hank, as she would call him, would become close. The point is that the odds were really stacked against this ever happening because Pa Hank had died the year before Jacqueline was born. So yeah, it is another story. I'm going to.
Did he die more or less than 9 months before she was born?
Oh, are you saying?
I
Are
don't
you
know that.
saying she
If you
was
are
Pa
saying what
Hank?
you are saying, Aadar, I am not interested. So just fuck off. I'm not getting into this stuff. But so guys, this story that I'm going to tell you is a real story. Okay, and it's
Wow,
not as
Baba.
much. Yeah, I know, I know. It's not
Hey,
as much.
encouragement,
एक
positive reinforcement
एक
works.
एक मिनट बाबा, तेरे साथ रूम में और 8 लोग बैठे हैं क्या? तू इतना कॉन्फिडेंटली घोस्ट स्टोरी कैसे बोल रहा है?
That's what I was about to come to. I'm saying ये
और तू
ghost story.
जेन्युइनली इंटरेस्टेड है? वाओ, लव इट, लव दिस. वी शुड डू.
अपने एडी असिस्टेंट को सबको बिठा के रखा है उसने रूम में कि तुम लोग मेरे को देखो सोते हुए आज.
No,
ओके,
the
चल बोल
thing is
बोल.
that it is not a ghost story as much as it is a what the fuck creepy story, right? So as a result, the enthusiasm is okay and justified, I feel. So this is a story about a very recent story about a apartment complex in Bombay. All right. Now, true story to the best of my ability. Here's what the scene is. So in this apartment complex, there was a house on, I think, whatever, the 5th floor or something like that of this apartment block. In one of the wings, there was a house on the 5th floor that in which there was a couple that lived. All right. There was a couple. This couple pre-pandemic had moved in, right? And this couple, since I think 2018, had never left the house. Never. And I don't mean had not left the house to go to work or to whatever. They hadn't left the house to go to buy bread. All right. So this couple has absolutely, and you have to understand, this is 2018, 2019. ये Instamart और ये सब इतना prevalent नहीं है, right? So what's happened is they have a door, they have a few windows, and the windows were always shut. Always. Absolutely always shut. There was no direct view or eye line from the building opposite. And even if there was, it was very restricted, right? So what's happened in this apartment is that over a course of time, the neighbors and the people in Bombay, we all know nosy neighbors, everyone started suspecting what the fuck is this couple up to, right? So the first 2-3 times they tried to knock, find out who it is, and they from that that intercom from the security thing they called and they said, so the guy said, oh, everything is fine, there's nothing, we're absolutely okay, there's no
Oh, he
problem.
answered.
Yeah, absolutely. The I think the guy or the girl answered and they said and they were extremely no, like, guys, everything's
No.
okay, we're totally fine, don't worry about it. If there is a thing, we'll let you know. Now this went on for a bit and they still haven't left the house even once, not once, right? And so we went to so we now go into the pandemic, and now when we get into the pandemic, the society is really worried because they're like, who are these people, what is it that they're doing कि pandemic में भी बाहर नहीं आ रहा है कि सब मतलब pandemic में भी they're not necessarily doing the things that the society needs, like are they separating the trash, are they doing whatever those kinds of things that the society needed you to do at that point, right? So again they called and they said, guys, we're absolutely fine, if there's anything we will absolutely let you know, please don't worry about it. The pandemic that first phase ends, and I think we become a little more lax and we're allowed to go with masks and restricted, I think later 2021 type. These guys, and you have to understand, it's been 3 years, these guys have not left the house. In about 2021, I think the society starts getting a little worried, starts getting a little irritated, starts getting a little suspicious also, right? And so they called the cops and they complained to the cops. And they are telling the cops, ki the fuck is wrong with this thing? They're not coming out, etc., etc. The cops at that point say, okay, so the cops come, they knock on the door, and cops knock on the door, and the guy says, why the fuck are you here? I said everything is fine. And the girl also responded saying, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Everything is fine. Why are you here? You don't have a right to be here. We're saying everything is fine. So please leave. And so the cops are like, okay, that's fair. There is absolutely no case here. They're both sounding completely okay. They don't sound
ये
suspicious at
दरवाजा
all.
खोल के बात कर रहा है पुलिस से?
बिल्कुल नहीं.
Oh.
बिल्कुल नहीं. Right? Now, what's happened in all of this time? There was a lady that lived in the house opposite. So from the keyhole, she can see stuff. From the eye hole, I'm sorry, from the peephole. Except that she has never seen these people leave. Right? One night, and इन लोग जब खाना वाना भी मंगाते हैं ना, तो इंस्ट्रक्शंस का था कि बाहर रखो ये वो ये. एक दिन, I think that it must have so happened that the lady heard the doorbell ring, or the door open or something, because she must have been near a door. She looked out of the peephole, and all she saw is one hand come out, take the food, and go in, and is about to close the door. At which point she opened her door, and she said, "Sab theek hai? Can we help you in any way?" And this is the first time from that inside the house, a voice said, what was the phrase? So it was the female who said, and she said, uh, तुमको चाहिए क्या? Whatever, like khali fokat, kya do kya rakh ke, basically is what it was. But there was a slang, and it's not really important to the story, but the slang was almost like, do you want one, like unnecessarily, bina puche do kya ek, that type was the line, right? And she got very thing and she shut the door, and that door also shut. And this is the first time they heard aggression. And now there is a thing. So now the neighbors have tried to put up something from the other side, but they can't see anything. The windows are blacked out and everything. Finally, they get really, really frustrated. But one day, an ambulance comes into the society, into the apartment complex. The ambulance comes in, and as soon as the ambulance comes in, they are like, we need to go to this apartment. And the security guards and everybody are like, what? Because there was a phone call made from this apartment. And so obviously the whole society in one WhatsApp group, I'm assuming, knows that this door is going to open. And the ambulance guys come up with the stretcher. The door of the apartment opens. They go in and they go in and they drop the stretcher and they come running out and say, nahi ho paega. And they just run. The neighbor at this point opens her door and runs into the apartment and screams and comes back out. Apparently, she has a video of her as she goes in and she comes out.
Which
Right?
Neville will share right now.
No, I don't have it.
Oh, okay. That was disappointing.
I don't have it, and there is a reason for it. So she screams and she comes out. Now, this is what has happened in that apartment. In that apartment, for the last number of years that these people have not stepped out of the house, they have not thrown out any kachra. So when the guys walked in, they saw the guy lying on the floor with his legs chewed off by rats still eating his leg. And that's when the ambulance was called. The lady was completely blackened, from dirt with dreadlocks and everything. And the guy had his legs fully flesh eaten while rats were still gnawing on it when they have gone in. That society had to be shut. Like they had to call 20 BMC trash trucks because trash was just piled on from floor to ceiling in all the across the apartment. So the blackened windows were from that. They had never thrown out trash. They had never done anything. And the reason why they called the cops, the ambulance, was obviously this gnawing of the, what's it called? The gnawing of the thing that thing. And so we don't know what the situation is, but the lady was taken to a mental institution, and obviously the cops have come and all of that, and that whole apartment had to be sort of thing, and that apartment complex is infested with rats, and we don't know what type of rats they are because they could be flesh-eating rats because they've just gotten used to eating flesh. And so that is the story of this.
Wow. You know what's impressive?
So the guy is dead.
No,
The guy is dead.
The guy is dead?
I don't know.
No, like, was he dead, or when the rats were gnawing at his feet, he was alive?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
You know what's impressive is that amongst all that trash, they were able to find the intercom.
Yeah.
I don't think it was an intercom. She called the mobile phone.
मोबाइल फोन से. But सोरे का थे, इतना कचरा बाहर घर के अंदर है तो
बास नहीं आ रहा था क्या?
Of course, बास must have, but घर के बाहर तक आएगा बास यार. This can't be contained.
Wild story. Wild.
Bro, these guys were doing social distancing because before they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Just
and continued much after they had to.
So, पहले का तो let's start with the tours that we were talking about. So I was in Edinburgh, and this is a short thing that happened. We went down on one of these underground, haunted Edinburgh tours, where they used to have they found catacombs, the Edinburgh catacombs. तो हम लोग जाते हैं, and these guys are trying their best to scare us, telling us they're doing role play, dressing up as these old Victorian people who used to come down here and stuff like that. वो story बता रहे, and they say this room is the most haunted wala, this particular area. तो वहाँ पे जाके of course people are trying to click photographs के कुछ आएगा. तो I took a couple of selfies here and there. Now सब कुछ हो गया, हंसी मजाक, मैं वापस ऊपर आया, and I had taken 2 selfies, and then post that I put the phone in my pocket. When I went back to my room, I take the phone out just to see, अच्छा चलो story पे डालते हैं. there were 7 other completely blurred photographs, which I couldn't have clicked. It just seemed like I was, जैसे कौतुक बोलता है ना, फोन हिलाते ऐसे जल्दी से फोटो ले लो, if you get something you get. It was just random blurred photographs in my phone. मेरा फट गया था. I deleted it immediately.
Wow. But your show तूने बराबर लिया था, not कैसे.
My 2 selfies were there. My 2 selfies were there. After that, I just took 2 selfies and like because I want to enjoy and I want to be in the moment, whatever. तो उसने बोला ये सबसे haunted जगह है. ठीक है. That's the only time I took my phone out and clicked a photo of the room. Post that, I can't be clicking 7 more photos before I put it in my pocket.
Maybe तूने burst mode पे लिया था.
हाँ.
Don't know.
When Aadar said कि those photos couldn't have been taken by me, I genuinely thought there were 7 photos of Aadar on his camera.
Like far away.
And they are not selfies. They are like, ऐसे POV shot from behind the tree. One leg right here.
वो तो फिर मैं उस दिन I would say fuck the remaining 15 shows and I would have backed off and gone back to London, which is supposed to be more haunted apparently.
Yeah.
So going from one tunnel to the next. This is a story from the Vietnam War. Okay, this story was posted on Reddit, all right, by a guy who was actually there in the war, and he basically starts off with, I have sat on this for 50 years. I cannot anymore. I have terminal cancer and I am not scared.
Wow.
So
way to begin a sentence.
Yeah. So it's like in 2017, this was posted. So this puts the story back in like 1967, like right in the smack middle of the Vietnam War. So he's obviously not said his name. So we'll just call him protagonist. Let's go full Nolan.
Could have called him Rajesh also, but okay.
Let's call him Neville. So अभी Neville जो है, Neville is in the middle of the war, and he's enlisted because first of all he's 5'3", 5'3" tall. So a friend of his actually suggested that why don't you become a tunnel rat? So what was happening during the war was that the Viet Cong used to dig tunnels underneath, and that's how they used to be safe and whatever, and then periodically attack the US military. So these guys were tasked with going down into the tunnels with C4 explosives and really like lower calibered guns. And why he says he used to use a 39 caliber, not a Colt 45 or something, which was the like normal issue. Because if you fire a larger caliber gun in a tunnel, you lose your hearing immediately. So they had to carry a smaller gun. So their protection is also now suddenly limited. And they just have the bomb, which they have the C4 explosive. So now this guy was working in the Cu Chi tunnel complex in Saigon, okay, which is the massive tunnel network. So now he decides to, him and his partner, who he names Benoit. Okay, that's his friend, Benoit. Now, Benoit and him are only 2 people who decide to go down this tunnel. And it seemed like a freshly dug tunnel. And it's stinking. So now what they're assuming is that this is an abandoned tunnel where some Viet Cong were probably holed in for a while and they had food, or worse, somebody has died there and the body is rotting. So now these guys are going down. They've gone down for 40 minutes. 40 minutes down a tunnel. And then they come to an open chamber, which opens into a small room with one oil lamp hanging there. And it's complete darkness. And so suddenly this is open and they're like, oh, we've hit the gold mine here. Like, we'll find something here. This is a big find for us. In the corner, with their flashlights, they see a tarp. So tarp ko hatata hai. Okay, and he starts going down the stairs. There's a like staircase, and then he starts putting his flashlight everywhere, and he notices that this is suddenly very different from the freshly dug tunnel that they've been climbing down. This is a proper staircase, and he's like, this seems very old. It doesn't seem like the Viet Cong have built this. This seems like one of those old, Egyptian, or like one of those old like archaeological sites. So this guy starts going down the stairs, and he's got their flashlights are red with a red lens. So it looks like they're descending into hell. This is how he describes it. Now they keep going down. They finally, their light suddenly hits a person. And this guy panics, and Benoit also panics. And Benoit is about to shoot his gun off at this person because they look like they're Viet Cong. They're dressed like the locals they've been fighting. But this guy stops him because he realizes that there's more people and none of them are armed. So he stops Benoit and he tries to go closer to them. And he realizes there are about 10 people and nobody is looking at them. They're flashing lights in their face and nobody is even batting an eyelid. And then he looks closer. Their eyes are all one solid color. Now he can't tell the exact color because he's got red lenses on his flashlight. And all of them are collectively rocking back and forth. Now, he doesn't know what to do. He's like, should I wake them up? He's about to touch this one woman who's sitting in front of him. He's about to touch her when Benoit says, wait, look at what they're facing. So he turns around and they both put their torch on this chota sa stone stump, and it has a gold statue of a naked woman. Like naked from the top, but bottom onwards, it's these gold tentacles, like an octopus. And uske niche, there is writing in a language that our hero doesn't understand. And this guy is like, he wants to go and pick it up because it's gold. He's about to go pick it up, and then Benoit screams like, do not touch it. And Benoit starts rummaging through his bag and starts removing the C4. And he's like, what are you doing? These people are unarmed. We can't do anything. He's like, I have seen this before in my town. We have to go. We have to go now. He's like, yeah, but we can't just blow this place up. These people, there's innocent people here. He's like, no, they're dead. Trust me, they're dead or something worse. I have seen this before in my town. They take their C4 out. They put their timers with 90 minutes on them. And then they start hauling their ass back up the tunnel. They get out into that open area with that like oil lamp there. They get back into the other tunnel and then start rummaging through with their hands and legs. And their hands are getting cut at the speed at which they're going. And then Benoit is ahead of our friend here. And then suddenly, very faint, he hears a woman's voice. And he's about to turn around and Benoit, he asks Benoit, do you hear that? And Benoit's like, I know, just do not look back. Just keep going up. They somehow manage to get out. They warn all the other soldiers that there's a bomb that's about to go off. And then they sit down and they wait. And then the bomb goes off. And they tell the other soldiers that they found something, but they don't tell them exactly what. And he's been sitting on the secret for 50 years. Insane random story on Reddit.
Freaky.
It's very Lovecraftian. Like it's got this element of eeriness and like hearing a voice from like it's otherworldly, and there's a statue and yeah.
हाँ मतलब एक और ये अमेरिकन सोल्जर था ना कि
American soldier fighting the Viet Cong. Yeah.
Creepy.
Nuts.
Do we have any others?
You want to do one more?
I'm done. Thanks.
Okay, so this next story, it takes place in Japan, right? And it's not a particular story, but it's about a place. And it's a place that doesn't exist. Okay, so this place is called the Sugisawa village. And the reason I say it doesn't exist is because you can't find it on any map, but a lot of people have claimed to have encountered this village. And when I say encountered, I say it because it appears to them. It's a very odd thing that happens when you encounter this village. So the Sugisawa village is known as the village that was erased from the map. And when people encounter it, they do it like this. Like, there are people who have reported seeing it. It's like this weird legend that floats about. And there are people who report seeing it when they were out hiking, or like they were driving and the weather was poor, and suddenly they find that their car has come right up to this strange village that they didn't know existed in this place. So here's what you see when you encounter the Sugisawa village. When you encounter it, you see that there is this sort of there's a Japanese thing called Tori Gate. It's like it's a place that denotes the regular from the sacred. So they see this Tori Gate, and beyond it, they see that there are 6 buildings, 6 houses in this village. At the base of this Tori Gate, they find a stone that is in the shape of a skull. Now, at this gate, as you enter, they see that there is a sign. And in Japanese, it says, for those who enter beyond here, there is no guarantee of life. Now, as you enter this place, they will see that there are these 6 small houses that make up the village. There are no people in it, and the walls of these houses are red in color. The red is not paint. Now, here's what happens to people. Like, there's this one particular story of this girl who was with 2 other companions. They were out trekking and they came across this village. Like, it was suddenly the weather had turned and they found themselves at this Tori Gate. Now, wise people who have encountered this Tori Gate, who have seen the skull, the stone that looks like a skull, the 6 houses, the red paint. If you're wise enough, you see all of this, you read the warning, and you turn around and leave. But these 3 people, they were curious. So they walk past the sign, they walk through the gate, they pass this stone that looks like a skull. And as they near these 6 houses, suddenly they can feel like as if they are being watched intensely. Suddenly it feels like this place is not empty anymore. Suddenly it feels like there are people in this village, but they can't see these people, but these people can see them. Now, as they're walking through this village, suddenly they spot this man. This man is tall, he's pale, he's wearing a straw hat, and as they call out to him, he turns around and he has blue eyes. Now they begin asking him, where are they? What is this village? But the man is unresponsive. And then suddenly he rushes at them. Now, the 3 of them, they freak out and they begin rushing out of the village. Now, they have their car that's parked outside like at a distance away, and they start running towards it. Now, the girl says, she reports this, ki as she's running, it feels like she's being held in the same spot. Like, she keeps running, but she's not getting anywhere. Eventually, however, the spell breaks. She manages to get to her car. The car obviously is not starting. Right? She's at this thing, she's panicking, and she can feel as if this car has now been surrounded by unseen presences. Somehow, in some time, this car starts up and she's able to leave this place. But here's the thing, her two companions, she never finds again. Now, what is also extremely eerie about this is that she was able to come back and report this, but she too soon vanishes. Now, every report of the Sugisawa village has come from exactly these types of people who have encountered it, who have come back, reported about it, and then in odd ways, they either pass away in strange ways, in unpredictable, uncertain ways, or they simply vanish. Now, here's the other part about this. The people who turn around, right? They know where this village is. But when they return back to the spot, the village is nowhere to be found. And that's why this is the village that has been erased from the maps. The question, why does it appear to people? Well, according to the legend, it appears to keep painting the houses red.
Oh, shit. उसको पेंट कुछ थोड़ा अच्छा ऑफर देना चाहिए ना.
Yes, someone needs to tell them about Nerolac. Like, I mean, it's about time.
It's like one Saif Ali Khan ad, just going there and
contractor को नेबे.
Pause. 1 sec, pause.
Fuck, what happened?
Suddenly we just see Neville's face in like super close up and then being dragged away.
It falls from above.
No, yeah.
Above,
He
yeah.
just falls from above, or like he goes like spam across the screen.
Or the
screaming.
phone, and the screen moves and then it falls on the side and you see
It
Neville.
is none of that. It is none of that.
Reality is so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It is none of that. मैं आइसक्रीम मंगाया था वो आ गया.
Wow. वो बेचारा वेटर भी डर गया होगा ना कि सर आप इतना अंधेरे में क्यों बैठे हो सर, नो देयर आर लाइट. सर आपने वो की डाला उसमें की डालते हैं तो लाइट ऑन होता है सर.
बाबा तूने भी दरवाजा ऐसा खोला होगा और एक हाथ आया होगा सिर्फ तेरा बाहर लेने के लिए.
दू क्या खींच के.
Speaking of hands, I want to talk about my favorite horror movie of the year.
And my favorite horror movie also of the year and of the last few years, bro.
Oof. So
Talk
good.
to me.
तू Netflix पे देखा
कि नहीं?
Obviously not.
Worth it watching in the Baba. You just have to watch what YouTubers can, like, if they're left to just do it at their devices and like given some money to actually create, like what they can do.
Bro, the movie is probably one of the best made horror movies. Great idea, great acting, great music. Great fucking everything. One of the absolute fucking best. Freaky, twisted, and so good. So good. I can't tell you how good it is. And another movie I watched.
Original storyline. Like a good, like fresh storyline.
I'll quickly tell you one more thing. I saw another movie recently. I forget the name. तो मूवी में एक घर है, घर के अंदर फैमिली वो सब रह रहा है, ठीक है, और फैमिली को पूरा टाइम आवाज आती रहती है. यू नो द टिपिकल हॉरर मूवी ट्रोप्स दैट यू सी, राइट, कि घर पे आवाज आ रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ऐसा हो रहा है, यू नो, स्क्रीचिंग, क्रीकिंग, द साउंड्स, घर पे रहने वाले कपल के बीच में फाइट हो रहा है.
Oh, I know this.
बच्चे लोग ये है, एंड ये सब हो रहा है. So you are led to believe it's a full horror movie, and then pulties, bro. Have you guys heard of a term called frogging? It's PHROGGING, frogging. Frogging is basically living in somebody else's house without their knowledge or permission.
No, this is the creepiest, worst.
It is that parasite का जो parasite का
वाला level. हाँ.
Parasite, लेकिन आजकल ये actually seen हो रहा है. It's become a thing where people, you know, like यूजुअली नॉट इन अपार्टमेंट्स राइट, क्योंकि इधर क्या इधर कोई घर पे रहेगा तो मैं ऐसे इधर मिल के कान के नीचे मारूंगा, कितना दूर रहेगा मेरे से। बट अगर ऐसे हाउस है 1+1 ऊपर वाला स्टोरी, तू एटिक में चुप के रह सकता है, इधर रह
No,
सकता है, उधर
and
रह सकता है।
Thakur, in these in America and all these places, like in the colder places, they have
Yeah,
insulation. So there's actually space between the walls in which these
walls.
people live, and it's
Yeah,
creepy.
and they wait for you to leave the house. Once you leave, they will come in, आके उन लोग खाएगा वाएगा, ये वो करेगा, नहाएगा धोएगा, सोएगा थोड़ा टाइम, फिर वापस जाके
Bro,
like
Varun, there is a video on YouTube, and ever since I've seen it, it has completely like ruined my sense of privacy and security. So
Oh
the
no.
thing was, it was a dude who kept complaining. He lived in an apartment. Okay, he kept complaining that like what he started noticing was that every time he would open his fridge, the food would
खाना
just be
कम है.
little less, right? His like just things were being moved just slightly, and the food was being eaten just a little bit, right? So he was like, initially he obviously dismisses it, saying that yeah, whatever,
मैंने
maybe
खाया
I
होगा.
don't
हाँ.
understand it, whatever. But soon it becomes indisputable to him that something is off. So what he does is he puts a camera in the house and he leaves, right? And when he reviews the footage, he sees that from one of the cupboards in his house, when he leaves the house, about 10 minutes after he's left, when the house has become still and quiet, the cupboard doors open and this woman comes out of the
Oh
cupboard.
my fucking god.
And she is opening the fridge, eating stuff out of it, and then climbs back into it. And he doesn't know how long she's been there. He doesn't know what all she's done, what all she's seen, why she's there. But this is a thing, and uh,
and
it's
dude, you know, this guy was trying to do it for himself, right? Many a time, these froggers, they will also shoot it themselves. So this movie that I was telling you about, in this movie, they are filming. Because for them also, it's like a kick, right? Like I'm literally living in this person's house and they have no
Oh.
fucking idea.
oh,
And they film
babe,
all of it. Then they'll
yuck.
film or they'll film fucking around with them, you know, when they're asleep at night. So like in one of the scenes, this guy wakes up and he sees that he's like pissed himself. And he's just like scared, like, what the fuck did I do? Turns out it was the Frogger जो room के अंदर आया रात को, and the Frogger has pissed on the guy. So when you look at it from a different point of view, you feel that this guy is losing his mind. He's so scared. He's peeing himself. Turns out it was the Frogger. Crazy
Wait, so
twisted
when
shit, bro.
last week
That-
okay, let's
uh,
not. This is scaring me.
Yeah, there's a Frogger in your house.
Yeah, when I
Aadar.
peed myself in bed, it was I can name my
Yeah.
I can tell my wife. Yeah.
चलो
but
मजेदार.
अच्छा,
और
एक
कुछ
मेरे को
है?
रैंडो स्टोरी
अरे
मिला मेरे को, called the
अरे
Monkey
आदर
King and the
प्लीज
Ghost.
यार, तेरे
for
इधर
Monkey
अभी
King and
तक
the
8
Ghost,
बजा है.
tune in to next episode of Ghost Stories. Also quickly talk to me. Frogging movie. Do you remember the name, Varun?
No, I'll post it in the comments.
Okay, so right now Frogging movie, and I would like to recommend Barbarian in case you haven't seen it.
Oh, Barbarian is so good.
Yeah, very fresh take on the creature
Yeah.
features.
And I
etc.
think they're making another one also. They're making like the same guys are making another kind of movie. Plus, Barbarian 2 is also coming.
Yeah, fun. So these are some of the recommendations. We'll obviously come back with some more later.
Yeah, we'll come back with proper binge list. But on that note, that's the end of this episode of the Internet Set. So by popular demand, we were doing ghost stories. We hope you liked the stories. Tell us which one was your favorite one and why. Tell us about any other stories. Link us to a few. We'll go check those out as well. And yeah, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Yes, Benchod. And please
Arey
write.
shit, I didn't know these
Well done,
candles get
Bawa.
hot.
That's
Well done, Bawa.
it has one job. Yeah, please write well done,
Sorry,
Baba, in the
what?
comments. Please write well done, Baba, in the comments for
Yeah.
sitting through 2 hours of ghost stories and contributing with 4 stories himself. क्या बात है? चलो.
Yeah, very good, Baba.
Unprecedented.
2. I don't know how many I did.
Good night. Bye bye. Take care. Salame.
So
Don't
there's
call
this
it-
Monkey King.
Don't say good night. Bye. See you.
गुड मॉर्निंग। बाबा तेरे होटल में कोई
by the
फ्रॉगिंग
way,
करेगा तो?
अच्छा ये
अभी
रेड लाइन इन किसी ने had anyone found the red line in?
नहीं, अभी मैं स्टॉप कर रहा है और मैं जा रहा हूँ।
1773 में बर्कशायर में था, जहाँ पे गेस्ट कंप्लेन करते हैं इन रूम 701 they keep complaining that something is pulling at their toes while they sleep.
Turns out it's
Even
Baba.
though the bed sheet is perfectly under the bloody mattress, still somehow something is pulling at their toes.